Thank you, Dan. Welcome, everyone. It's 6 minutes after the hour of 6 a.m. It's Friday, August 16th, 2019, 50 degrees outside. We're looking for a high of about 79 today, something in that neighborhood, I think. Shane Taubman, half man, half amazing, is on the line with me, my co-host from Vancouver, British Columbia, in the beautiful country of Canada. If you've ever been there, it's so-so.
It is so-so.
It's so-so.
Is it really only 6 minutes after 5 o'clock? Oh, 6 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. Just 6 minutes after 5 your time.
Ah, 2 hours and 54 minutes. We have a lot of talking to do.
We do this morning. Yeah. Well, the first thing we could talk about are earthquakes yesterday.
I opened up and I'm checking the news. It looks like you got in your rocker chair last night and got rockered out.
We did get rockered out. Yeah, we had a 3.4 magnitude earthquake about 6:01, and then we had another one at 6:02, 4.2. So we're rocking and rolling here as far as the earthquake deal is going on here. So it's just a matter of time before Yellowstone blows. And
Tom, I think you and the wife and the dogs, you should go on a road trip. Just,
we need
maybe
to go to Vancouver.
Yeah, I don't care where. Maybe just go on a road trip to somewhere,
Hawaii.
Right, Hawaii.
We're going to get out of because all of the entire northwest of the United States will be gone.
That's right.
Well, the good news is Seattle and all those places will be history.
That's true.
So that'll be
it'll take 2 weeks for the cloud to go around the Earth and come back the other way.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, it'll probably slow down the Earth, and we'll have actual climate change because we're going too slow. That'll be it. Or it'll speed it up. I don't know. We'll have to change all our clocks to metric time, I guess. That would not be good. So anyway,
that's an interesting concept when you think about it. If an explosion on this planet was that big, which they say it would be, could it possibly shift the orbit, because it'd be like an engine, right?
Well,
like
it would, yeah. You'd be pushing they say that the dams on the Mississippi have altered the rotation of the Earth.
I know they have.
That they've got the weight of the water held back by the dams not flowing freely has made a kind of a weighted spot there.
Yeah, it's a lot of weight.
Yeah. So.
Well, it's like the Gallatin River. That guy that said, the fault line follows the river, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, the seismic events were felt by many people. Belgrade, Bozeman, whatever. And there's a map on our website at KMMSAM.com if you want to go look at it where the quakes were. They're a little northwest of Manhattan, rather. So one was, 4 miles deep or 3 miles deep? Yeah. 3 miles, and the other one was 6 miles deep. So they're getting right down there.
Did they last like 10 seconds?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, they're not very long. I mean, they're not.
Okay, so the first one comes, one, two,
yeah, then the second one comes after that.
And all of a sudden, the second one comes right after that. Like in a minute, you're going, this could be the big one.
This could be the big one. I don't know. Well, we're still here, though, so that's a good thing, I guess.
Yeah, I couldn't do the show alone. I couldn't do it.
That's true. You could. We'd have to have an engineer come in here and take care of it.
Oh, yeah, like there wouldn't be an office. What are you talking about?
Well, that's true, yeah. We'd have to, I don't know, we'd have to put you on, with Aaron over in Billings.
No. Downloads. People have to go to the downloads.
That's it. Yeah, downloads are history there, man. They're in the cloud forever. So, yeah. So even if we're gone, you can still hear us.
Right.
That's a good thing.
That's huge. It's like getting an album, baby.
That's right. Well, our weather today, we're increasing clouds today. We're going to have a high of near 78, and we're going to have some wind. 18 miles an hour could be wind gusts, so keep that in mind. Tonight, slight chance of rain between 10 and 5 a.m., 10 p.m. and 5 p.m., and low of around 49, and precip's only about 20%, so a chance of rain, but may or may not happen. Saturday looks pretty good, though, for the Potato Fest. Partly sunny with a high near 76, and Winds will be pretty calm, and that Saturday night, partly cloudy with a low around 50, and that should be pretty good for the Potato Fest over in Manhattan. They're going to celebrate that tomorrow, and we got the Manhattan Volunteer Fire Department is going to put on a breakfast there from 6:30 till 10 o'clock or so. Then the parade starts at 11, and they got all kinds of entertainment over there for you. So get over and check out the Potato Fest in Manhattan.
The Potato Fest, yeah.
And they may have they may schedule an earthquake for you over there. You can kind of experience it firsthand.
That's good. I like that.
They'll do that. Yeah, they'll do that for you. Everybody will go over there and watch the ground shake. Sunday, it's going to be sunny, high near 85. No chance of precip again. Winds from the south could be kind of high, 28-mile-an-hour winds. Sunday night, mostly clear, low around 53. Monday, sunny with a high near 87. And then partly cloudy in the evening, low around 53. Same story for Tuesday, sunny with a high near 86, mostly clear with a low around 54 that night. And Wednesday will be sunny, high near 89. And we're not any rain in the forecast, so that's pretty good. Temperatures around the area right now, Livingston is 51 degrees, Manhattan is 46, Three Forks is 47, Gallup Gateway is 46, Ennis is 45, Big Sky is 42, at the airport in Belgrade it's 46, and currently we're right at 50 degrees here in our downtown studios here in Bozeman, Montana.
No, that's good.
Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah, and of course it's that temperature in your studios with air conditioning. That's how well it works.
Yeah, we've got air conditioning here. It's pretty cool in here right now too.
Yeah.
So. Cool. Well, our poll question yesterday: who will win the trade war with China? It's no contest. 68% believe the United States will win the trade war with China. Only 13% believe China will win. 10% neither, and 2% are undecided. And we've also got a couple of others. One is ask me in 5 years, and who will win the trade war against China? The Dem that runs against Trump will win the war against China. So I guess we'll figure that out. Our poll question today, though, has already got some pretty good responses. How often do you eat out each month? How often do you eat out each month, Shay? You're a former cook in a restaurant, so you like to sample other, things out in the community there. I think Vancouver's got plenty of eating places. Oh,
unbelievable! Yeah. I mean, it's the food richness here is incredible. Global food course.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Multi-course. Maybe 4 times a month.
Yeah. Okay. That's about the average. Yeah.
Once a week. I like cooking. So.
Yeah, I know you do. Yeah.
So yeah, I enjoy being it.
Well, currently the vote is really early, but right now 42% 1 to 3 times a month. 14% say rarely. Another 14% say 4 to 7 times, and 14% say more than 10 times. So we've got a little bit.
The thing about this is, and I love doing this because this really gets you going.
Yeah.
All right. So it's the 21st century, right?
Yes. So last time I looked, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And what's one of the big deals now is ordering in.
That's right.
Where I mean, a fancy delivery from a fancy restaurant.
Well, that's what one of the others said. Takeout 1 to 2 times a week, so they'll go down to their favorite restaurant and bring something home or whatever. So, but yeah, you're right. Grubhub will deliver your favorite breakfast or your favorite restaurant meal. We've got a couple local places that do that too as well. So.
And there's one that like brings you a bag of food, and it's a whole meal.
Oh yeah.
With the vegetables, it gives you the instructions. I don't want to advertise.
Yeah.
But I don't remember the name of it. But
Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
pretty
you
amazing.
go online and they'll send you the food and you cook it up
Yeah,
yourself. It's all ready to go and things like that. And yeah,
yeah.
well, we've ordered some stuff from Omaha Steaks from time to time. They have those
Ooh,
specials, so they've got some pretty good stuff from
they,
time to
they
time.
they are actually incredibly good.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
pretty good. Yeah, and they come dry ice and a nice little
yeah.
styrofoam cooler, and you can reuse if you want
Would-
to go to the river or something. Fill it up with beer, and away you go.
or better yet, regift it.
That's
Give it to some
true. Yeah, you can regift it. Yeah. So,
an automatic Christmas present under the tree.
amen. All right, it's time to take care of the ranchers, farmers, truck drivers, cab drivers, anybody that brings you clothing, food, or booze. We want to honor
That's
those people. So the Grubhub people too, I guess, will bring you food.
right.
So
Yeah, yeah.
or
That's
whoever
right.
gets your food. So, but we'll be right back. Here's Montana news and agriculture. We'll be back right after this. 22 minutes after the hour of 6 a.m. It's Friday, August 16th, 2019, 50 degrees outside. Looking for a high in the high 70s today, Shane. So hopefully it'll
Hmm.
be warm and nice out there. On this day in history, in 1858, a telegraph message from Britain's Queen Victoria to President James Buchanan was transmitted over the recently laid transatlantic cable. That was quite a coup back in the day, laying that
It
cable.
was.
I mean,
I'm
that was
telling you.
something,
Yeah.
because one ship couldn't carry the whole Atlantic cable out, so they had
No.
to they had to kind of do it in
They
pieces, and yeah,
it was the first time that man came to understand how deep the Atlantic Ocean was,
right,
and second about the Atlantic Ridge, because when you think about running a line,
yeah,
they start on the east coast of the U.S., so they're dumping it, they keep going and going and keep on rolling it and rolling,
right, yeah,
and then they get to the Atlantic Ridge in the middle, and then all of a sudden they got to go over the top of it and down it anyway.
yeah,
The important thing here is William Cook, and I love these names.
yeah,
Sir William Fothergill Cook
yeah.
and Charles Wheatstone were the first to develop a working telegraph in 1839 and get a patent.
Wow.
But the famous American, as we all know, was Samuel F.B. Morse, 1840, creating the Morse code to be able to
Mhm.
use the darn telegraph in the first place.
And still
So,
used today in the Navy to contact ships with lights and things like that. You still have
and
to know Morse code. We had to learn it in the military.
yes,
Yeah. Hmm.
exactly. I mean, and it was a rush to accomplish what everybody wanted. I don't want to go into too much detail because we don't like spending too much time on any one thing, but it's sort of cool because the first telegram, as you said, was between Queen Victoria of the United Kingdom and the President James Buchanan. But that first line only lasted a short period of time, another 3 months, and it didn't work because some guy tried to bump up the frequency and burned it out. Anyway, long story short, there was another half a dozen cables companies that came along, and several were laid. One in 1857, two in 1858, one in 1865. A lot of money spent on trying to do
Hmm.
this, you know.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
It's like 30 years ago when they
Hmm.
laid the cable, across the Pacific, for the internet. Remember?
Hmm.
And spent billions of dollars, and they sold it to the bank saying, "Oh, pay for this because once we get this down and we have this high intensity internet connection around the world, people will come." Well, they didn't.
Yeah. No, they didn't.
No,
If you build it, they won't, or if you lay it, they won't come.
they won't come.
Apparently.
Yeah.
Well, in 1888, on this date, T.E. Lawrence, the British soldier who gained fame as Lawrence of Arabia, Larry the Arab, was born in Tremadog, Wales, I guess.
That's right, and he's a map maker, which is interesting. The 1962 film was so phenomenal. I mean, it's a classic.
It
I
is a
own it.
classic,
I
yeah.
mean, I watch it at least once a year.
Yeah.
The reality about it is twofold. Number one, he realized the importance of the Jewish community in the Middle East, and he also realized that there would come a time at the end of the war because the Ottomans went on the side of the Germans,
Hmm.
and the Ottoman Empire at this time ran from Turkey all the way down to the Middle East across North Africa to Spain. So with the exception of Morocco, all those countries were created after the World War I, which we talked about. We don't
Oh,
need to
yeah.
go into.
Hmm.
But Yeah, he's a
So,
very cool dude, man. Died in a motorcycle accident.
yeah. Yeah, he was somewhat reluctant leader to begin with, and
Yeah.
then he got kind of a taste for it.
Yeah, then they sort of went off the rails, as they
Yeah,
say.
yeah. I like being covered with blood, as
Yeah, I
long as it's
know.
not my own. Yeah, right.
Anyway, 46, sad. 46, regrettably, he had a mishap on his bike. But some
Yeah,
people think it was an actual suicide, but no one knows for sure. Who
yeah,
knows?
yeah.
Who knows?
Well, in 1913, Israeli Prime Minister Menachem Begin was born in Breslov in present-day Belarus.
Well, the cool thing about this dude is how hardcore he was about protecting the Jewish nation after World War II and
Mm-hmm.
the horrific thing that the Holocaust did.
Mm-hmm.
But, the thing that he will always be remembered for was, Begin came to Palestine,
Mm-hmm.
in Washington. It's just like Nixon going to China. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like
Mm-hmm.
it took a guy like Begin who was so hardcore to do a deal with the Palestinians and the Egyptians. But that's what he'll be remembered for. And
Mm-hmm.
and of course, Anwar Sadat and him got along famously at Camp David and the Camp David Accords. So there you go.
Yeah.
I think that's basically the only accomplishment you could give Carter claim to, right? Was that
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because
yeah. Trying to, well, it sort of lasted, but it sort of didn't, I guess.
yeah, but it
Well,
was the first.
Egypt and Israel still tolerate each other, but
Well,
that's
but he understood this because
mhm.
the only country at that time that had the population to raise an army and defeat Israel was Egypt.
Right.
And
Hmm.
none of the other Middle East countries had enough people to
No.
really, yeah.
Yeah.
Iraq eventually did, of course.
Hmm. Well, in 1948, on this date, Baseball Hall of Famer Babe Ruth died at the age of 53. Had throat cancer, I believe. I don't remember
Yeah.
for sure what he had, but sad story. Amazing athlete for his time. Totally changed the sport of baseball, and just a superhuman person among, I don't know, a giant among men, I guess, at that
A
time. But
giant, a
yeah,
giant amongst delinquents, because
yeah,
they were all delinquents. They weren't paid that much, as we know, and
yeah.
they showed up every year at camp for nothing,
Hmm.
and it wasn't a great life like it is today. I mean, my gosh, when you look at
Yeah.
it's incredible. Yeah,
Well, he was one of the first guys to make 100 grand back in the 40s, so that was big
right.
bucks. That'd be that would
10 million today.
yeah, it'd be
Yeah,
close to what people today are getting, certainly. So, but yeah, that was a sad day. I remember that. He was one of my heroes growing up. As he was.
everybody's
Oh
like,
yeah, yeah. He wasn't playing when I grew up, but was
he was
still.
the Muhammad Ali of his time
He
in the
was,
world.
yeah.
Like everyone in the world knew who
Oh
Babe
yeah,
Ruth was.
that's it.
Everybody.
He certainly did. All right.
Everyone knew two things: the Marlboro Man and Babe Ruth.
Okay. Works for me. All right, we've got to leave here for a couple of seconds. We've got the Montana State News coming up, Fox News, and Jacobus will be here, Cashman Nursery, and of course Babel. So, hey, stay tuned. A lot coming up. 24 minutes for the top of the hour. It's Friday, August 16th, 2019, 50 degrees outside. Jennifer Bordy, Law Babe, will join us at 8 o'clock, and I don't know what we're going to talk about. We talked about maybe traffic laws. That's one of her pet peeves is how you drive.
No, we always talk about the same thing: the Supreme Court. So.
Well, that too. Well, we may talk about that because rulings are coming down. This is the time of year when they start putting out stuff, June and whatever. So, but
Well, I'm curious because last night now everything's blown up on this rushing thing because the Democrats have been talking about for a month, as we said, no one's above the law, no one's above the law, and you can prosecute a president after he's out of office. And now you have these two. You have the what's his name that committed suicide in Clinton, and then yesterday, the Wall Street Journal has a big article about the Russian whole investigation goes right to the White House because it was a counter espionage investigation and requires a presidential approval. So, like, oh my gosh, now it's getting serious.
Well, we'll find out. The Inspector General is supposed to release a report, I think, in September. So we'll
waiting
see
for
where
the
that goes, if anywhere. And Bob Barr, I guess, is trying to investigate Epstein's suicide. So we'll see where that ends up. And I don't know. There's a lot of unanswered questions there. We had another shooting yesterday, and where some cops were shot again. So besides Philadelphia, I forget where the latest one
yesterday
was.
in Philadelphia, in the same neighborhood, 5 people were shot.
Yeah.
It's okay. My favorite exciting discussion today for this day in history. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Sports Illustrated, baby. Yes. Why?
Why?
Well,
why Sports Illustrated?
Because it first came out. Well, this was the third version in August 1954. It still has over 3 million subscribers and is read by 23 million people each week, including 18 million men. So women enjoy it too. But of course, what's really remarkable about this magazine was in 1964, they published their first swimsuit issue. Now, that was the year of Goldfinger.
Okay.
And I was 9. And I could buy a Sports Illustrated. I couldn't buy a Playboy.
Yeah.
But when I was 9, I could buy Sports Illustrated. Oh, baby, was it great.
I know. And every year when they did the Sports Illustrated, the letters would pour in. I'm canceling my subscription. This is pornography. This is not sport. But year after year, here they come with.
Except 10 times more people signed up. Right?
Yeah, I was going to say, it worked out pretty well for them. So let's take a phone call. 522-TALK is the number, 522-8255. Calling you on the air. What's going on?
I have a question for you.
All right.
Is your show, which is international, is it held to American free speech standards or Canadian free speech standards?
That's very good.
6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
No, they're not the same because Canada does not have free speech.
Well, that's true. Yeah, they can't use certain pronouns. They're in bad shape up there.
Yeah, there's no question that Canada, under this new government, which has been a real disappointment. But aside from everything else, they created hate speech and criminalized it. They criminalized it, so it's an actual federal criminal.
Yeah.
Shane, since you are now the de facto censor for this show, is it held to Canadian standards or American standards?
Is this in regards to Aaron yesterday or something?
Well, not really, because he was persistent in the same topic.
Yeah, that's all I said to him. I said, we've heard enough about it. And then I asked him, what else do you want to talk about? And he hung up. You know, that's all I got.
I'm just asking a question about American standards or Canadian standards.
Well, it's Tom's show, so it's American standards.
Yeah.
Okay. That's all. Bye.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's Tom and Shane. It's not Tom.
Well, yeah, but you do it all, baby. You're the producer, the director. You're the the on-screen.
Yeah. Well, I will say in response to that, I want to thank Aaron because phones started ringing, people started listening, and probably a lot of people have tuned in today to see if this is going to continue. And so that's good radio. So I thank Aaron very much for his comments, and that's that gets emotions running. And we had several comments from our text line on both sides. Some supported Aaron and some supported you, and that's what makes good radio, when you get people involved and the emotions run high and people get excited about what they're saying or whatever. And
the thing is, the topic that he brought up with regards to subsidizing farmers, it's an important topic. I mean,
sure,
which is great, and we covered the context and the history and the importance of.
And a lot of people weighed in with their point of view as well. So that's why I say I thank him for starting the conversation and getting it going. So
and Steve called in and we talked about bread because it's so huge. Bread is
that's true.
It's a staple. It's a staple around the world of everybody's day in the world.
So true. Yeah. Let's take a quick break, and we'll be back with more right after this. 14 minutes before the top of the hour. Hey, don't forget to sign up for our AM 1450 KMMS app. You need our app on your smartphone out there so that you can listen to the show. You get all the news, local, Bozeman news, Livingston news, Manhattan earthquake news. We get it all here. So by all means, check it out. AM 1450 KMMS app. Just do a search for it, and it's available on your iPhone or Google Play. And sign up for it. And with that, of course, you also get app chat. Right next to the listen button is the app chat button. You hit that button, and boom, you're talking directly to us. And from our app chat this morning, Tom, don't feel bad. I'm usually brain dead, too. That's why I listen to you and Shane.
That's great.
Talking about being brain dead yesterday. And regarding the Numbers USA website, Greg Gianforti gets a C, bad enough, while Danes and Tester both get an F. One degree or another, we have disappointments supposedly representing us. Tester and the Rhino Danes need to be put out to pasture, and Gianforti needs further instruction as what it means or to what's best for the America. So. From our text chat there, so
with your choice of presidential contenders, walking away yesterday from Colorado, Huffenbacher or whatever, he dropped out, so he's going to run for Senate. So I see this as, your governor ran, to raise money, and then he's going to get out and use that money to, run for the Senate. So that's what I see happening against my man Danes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That'll work for
Montana
me.
politics. Okay. Adlai Stevenson the second. Now, this is a great version of the Democratic Party, and the reason is, he was back around in the 50s, 31st governor of Illinois from 49 to 53, and he received he ran for the presidential nomination of the Democratic Party 3 times. He lost. He won it in 52 and 56 and lost both times to Eisenhower. Came back in 1960 to run again and lost to none other than John F. Kennedy. But the Democratic Party has a history of this, right? Of guys running 2-3 times, and everybody made a big deal about our Aunt Hillary. But she that was pretty much the protocol for the Democratic Party. Lose once, try again.
Why not? Yeah. That was when I first got interested in politics. Was during that it was the first one that we ever saw televised on in our home, and I remember watching the Democrat convention, and of course our family was Republican at the time, and I remember looking at all the people that were at the Democratic convention. I thought, oh my God, we're going to get killed.
Yeah, I know. It's just like,
and then the Republican convention came on a few weeks later, and I said, "Oh, we got plenty of people here. What's the deal? We're looking much better." I thought.
I've been to 2 Republican conventions. I was at the Bush Quail one, which we'll talk about probably in a minute, and then it's 76 at Ford's in Kansas City. But what a party! I mean, these people. I love Americans. You guys. You know how to party, baby, at any age.
Mm-hmm. Well, we do know how to party, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So, I guess we'll find out.
Exactly.
We'll see. Next June, July, or August, we'll find out who's
I think it'll be a dogfight. I'm calling for an open convention, and I think
it
could be Yang. The Yang gang is coming, baby.
Well, Yang made the debate in September, and but I don't know if that says anything because Beto made it too. But these guys are all below 5%, I think. I'm not even sure how they're getting there, but Elizabeth Warren is now in second place. She passed Bernie, so we're pretty excited about that. That Elizabeth.
What a New York tagline: Warren and Yang.
Yeah.
Or Yang and Warren.
Yang and Warren. Yeah. Well, and also the gal, the sore loser from Georgia, says she'll run for vice president with anybody that wants her. So. there you are. So you can pick up Georgia if you want
Tell
to.
you,
So.
the Democratic convention, whatever it is going to be a dogfight, baby. It's going to be fun to watch.
It will be fun to watch. As these people get more time to talk, as there's fewer of them on stage, I think there's a lot more opportunity for them to shoot themselves in the foot than there has been. You know?
If not in the head,
yeah,
right?
if not in the head. So I was going to say, if you can give Biden more time to talk, that should be pretty entertaining TV. Yeah. We got to take another break. We'll be right back with more of the Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane right after this. 5 minutes for the top of the hour. It's Friday, August 16th, 2019, 50 degrees outside. We're looking for a high in the upper 70s today. Shane Matobin, half man, half amazing, my co-host on the line from Vancouver, British Columbia. Tom Eagleoff, your morning mayor. Welcome to the KMMS Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. And, well, not much happening here, Shane, but...
Well, Cyprus is important. You know, it's one of these situations. You know, we talk about racism a lot, and we hear it talked about a lot. If you want to go and read about a perfect example of what real racism is, go read the history of Cyprus. You know, it got its independence in 1959 from London, and then in 1960, and it was an island of Greeks and Turks, and then there was a coup in 15th of July 74, and the Greeks and the Turks separated on the island and then started fighting and turned into a real mess, of course. But it was a major player, you know, during a major play during World War II for the British because it was in the middle of the Mediterranean. Anyway, it's interesting what's gone on. It's quieted down today, and they've never had a lot of success with their economy because of the racism between the Greeks and the Turks. But 1.2 million people on the island. Their GDP is $35 billion, which isn't bad for 1.2 million people. 41,000 per capita income for each person on the island to this day. So, not a bad lifestyle in the middle of the Mediterranean.
And in 1960, they were granted independence from Britain.
That's right. So it's interesting to read about it. It's just in the context of racism because it's like Venezuela being a perfect example of the failure of socialism, right?
Yeah. Well, in 1987, thousands of people worldwide began a 2-day celebration of the harmonic convergence, which believers called the start of a new, pure age of humankind.
Got to talk about this for 1 minute because it's very interesting, based upon the Aztec cosmology, but it's more like the numerology. As you pointed out, 87, the 16th to the 17th of 87. It was an exceptional alignment of the planets, on that day in our solar system. But here's the interesting thing. I got to read this because this is sort of interesting. The selected date marked the end of 22 cycles of 52 years each, or 1,144 years in all. The 22 cycles were divided into 13 heaven cycles, which began in 843 AD and ended in 1519 when the nine hell cycles began, ending in 468 years later in 1987. Now, the very beginning of the 9 hell cycles was precisely the day that Hernan Cortez landed in Mexico, April 12, 1519. So you look at these numbers and you're going, wow, this is... Wow. So anyway, everyone gathered because they thought it was a new cycle of greatness and the end of the hell cycles. And I don't know, buddy. Numerology can really wind numbers very interestingly.
That's for sure. Yeah. Well, on this date, 1988, Vice President George H.W. Bush tapped Indiana Senator Dan Quayle to be his running mate on the Republican ticket. And
okay.
Dumb and Dumber. I guess.
That's right. And you got, in 1992, he picked him again, to run against Clinton and Gore. Now, here the big test for you today. How do you spell potato?
Yeah, that was it.
That's right. On June 12, 1992, Quayle was at the Monose Riviera Elementary School spelling bee in Trenton, New Jersey, and a student, William Figueroa's correct spelling of potato, Potato.
Yeah.
And he said, no, it's Potatoe.
Yeah.
And that was it. That was the end
It
of
was
the election.
potato. And yeah.
That was the end of the election, everything.
And also, didn't Benson tell him he's no Jack Kennedy, too?
That's right, during the
that
debate.
went on, too. But they still won. Well, they
still
won
won.
the first time, but they didn't win the second time.
88. That's
Yeah, right. They went down in defeat to Clinton. So, all right, we got to get out of here. We've got news at the top of the hour. We come back, local news. We got a high school we got to talk about. We got, oh gosh, the Dems want the Montana House seat from Montana, so we're going to talk about that. So stay tuned. A lot more to come. We'll be right back right after the news, top of the hour. Thank you, Dan. Welcome, everyone. It's Friday, August 16, 2019, 50 degrees outside, looking for a high in the mid upper 70s. Today, Shane Montalban, half man, half amazing, joins me, my co-host from Vancouver, British Columbia, Tommy Glopp, your morning mayor, in the house. And, of course, this is the KMMS Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. And we're happy to have you along with us. Thanks for taking us with you on your morning rounds as you go through life. And well, we've got a lot going on in Bozeman. We got 7,000 kids that are getting ready to go into the high school, and they're trying to get the roundabout done on 15th Street there and widen the street and make the new entrance on the back of the high school so that people could drop kids off and the buses and everything can get in and out of there and whatever. So. But yeah, North 15 has been closed for a while, but they're widening it, and so they're hoping to have that done. Classes are going to begin on September 3rd for the kindergarten, or for most students, they're going to begin on September 3rd, and for kindergartners, duh.
Exactly.
September 6th, though. But enrollment is officially over 7,000 students for the first time ever, and the middle school principals are trying to figure out if there are too many seventh graders to fit in Sacagawea. They may have to send some of those folks over to Chief Joseph's, and that's even though Sacagawea recently had a $16 million expansion. So we're I don't know. We keep talking about the population, the 2 point whatever we're supposed to have. Well, apparently, folks here are not hearing that message.
Yeah, well, you got a loving valley there, but the great thing about this is this is a great example of capitalist efficiency. Mm-hmm. The school system in your country is first, it's remarkable, but second of all, is the logistics. I mean, when you think of the logistics of having to get 7,000 kids to school, just to school and home every day.
Oh, yeah.
Aside from the education, but the logistics of getting these children to school and their children.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It's a very impressive thing. It really is.
It really is, yeah. Well, in high school, obviously, they're somewhat responsible, but not totally, I guess. I wasn't, but...
Until you give them a phone in a car.
Yeah, you give them a phone in a car, and then it's all downhill from there. But kudos to our schools, and of course the new high school. They're expecting that to be ready in 2020, September of 2020. It's about 60% done right now. The new stadium won't be ready to open on the first day of classes. They're shooting for homecoming. The stadium is the most expensive piece of the $13.7 million construction project that includes Ruth Theobald Way and the roundabout and new parking and moving the softball field. So a lot going on there at the school, a lot of moving around. So, but it's pretty cool that we got that many students here, and we wish them much success as they go through their school years.
And props to all those parents that raise them, care for them, and provide for them. You're doing a great job. Keep it up.
Yeah. Sure. Let's take a phone call. 522-TALK is the number, 522-8255. Caller, you're on the Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. What's up?
This is some old guy out here.
Hey, how you doing, old guy?
Good, sir. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning there, Shane.
I want you to know I had your back yesterday.
I understand that. I'm going to talk a little bit about that.
Oh, my goodness gracious. Okay.
Well, now, I don't know if you can or not because Aaron didn't get to talk about it, Clint. So.
No,
I'm going to defend Aaron a little bit here.
Okay, all right. If you're going to defend Aaron, then it's okay.
Him?
If you defend him, that's okay. Otherwise, you got to get off.
Well,
we can't talk about the same things now. Come on, that wouldn't be fair to him.
That's right. That's right. I felt bad because part of what he was saying was right.
Well, yeah.
Okay, now if you look on your computer
Mm-hmm.
and look up the Environmental Working Group, okay, and then you type in Montana, or you can type in New York or any state, and then put in the county, it will tell you how much money and how much subsidy each farmer is receiving within that county. Now, I think that's great, that part. But when you get Cargill and Archer Daniels Midland, huge corporations receiving that same subsidy, only with the millions and millions of dollars that you and I are paying for, I don't go for that at all. And what Aaron was saying was what I'm telling you. And so I'm defending him this way because the subsidies, to me, go to the farmer that is in need, not a huge corporation. It goes to the farmer. Then the farmer has
That's
insurance.
an application, isn't it? Don't you apply for those benefits?
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, and then you have when you go in under the farm program, they kind of jurisdict to you. You know, they make you get insurance and things like this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is mandatory if they're going to subsidize you. So I can understand where Aaron was coming from, but like I said, the huge corporations, and some of these corporations are so big, you know. You even take, if you look on the Environmental Working Group, I think Shane probably, or you, Tom, can look that up, and you will see what I'm talking about and what Aaron was talking about. But here's one thing I did say a long time ago, and I lost a friend over this. I said, anybody that's taking any farms or ranches that are taking these large subsidies, and my family they were taking huge, over $100,000 a year. Then I said that any people that does that should allow hunters to hunt their land, providing the hunter asks to hunt it. Okay?
Yeah, and act responsibly while they're there.
That's right.
Yeah.
And because we are subsidizing them, I thought it was only fair that the farmer or rancher that had huge tracts of land, which my family have, allow the people to hunt it. Well, what they've done is a lot of the farmers and ranchers have went and contracted with outfitters, you follow me, to take guided people into their lands to hunt. And my family's done the same thing. But the thing is, there's no fair way, really, of doing things. And these subsidies started way back in the 40s, I believe.
Yeah, I can remember farmers were paid not to grow.
Yes, they were.
You know, at one time there was an overabundance of certain crops. So, they were just compensated not to grow those crops.
Yeah, right. And then in Roosevelt's time, you know, he bought a lot of hogs and cows and everything else to try to help. This was during the Depression, you know.
Yeah.
And so it was, it kind of all worked out in the end. But once a farmer signs into this farm programs, then the government's kind of got you in some respects. You've got to do what they say. You can't plant too much grain. You've got to plant what they think in order to do this. So I want to just say to Aaron, I've never met Aaron, and I just want to say to him he was partly right. And so I had to come to defend him somewhat.
All right.
Thank you very much,
man.
you guys.
Thanks for the call. All right.
Okay, well, real quick, Cargill, founded in 1865, 154 years ago. It's one of the largest food production companies, agricultural service companies in the world. 114 billion in revenue last year. The Cargill family owns. It's a private company. The Cargill family owns 90% of it, and has 150,000 employees. So, total assets $60 billion. So he's right about that. It's a gigantic corporation that has a lot of control over corporate farming.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of eventually. What about in Canada? Do you guys have the bigger corporations running farms up there? Or?
No, we don't have large corporations. No.
Okay.
No, they've been minimized in the farming industry. We did in the logging industry, but it's all gone because America bought it all. So that's what usually happens.
So you don't have any more trees up there at all?
Yeah, baby, we're short.
Short of trees.
100 billion board feet with our stumpage fees that the Americans get for cheap.
Oh, okay. You just gouge us on cheese and eggs and milk and chickens, huh?
Can't afford it, baby. We have those boards here, so
I know. Yeah. Yeah, you got those.
Expensive.
Yeah. What are you paying for chickens now? Like
exactly.
15, 20 bucks for a chicken or something like that.
For a whole chicken.
Yeah.
$4.50 for a dozen eggs.
Wow.
$5 for a pound of butter. I mean, that's crazy.
Well, we're not sure what to do about that, but
neither are we.
That's tough, man.
It is tough. It's not a good one.
Well, the Democrats seem to think the Montana House race is becoming more competitive. We've got. Can't think of her first name. Williamson. Maxine. Is it Maxine? It's not Maxine. What is her first name? I'll find it here in a minute. Kathleen Williams. Right. Yeah, Kathleen Williams is running on the Democratic side, and there's also on the Democratic side there are a couple other folks that are running too. Let's see, State Representative Tom Winter and rancher and veteran Matt Raines are also running against Williams. And she's worked more than 3 decades in natural resources policy and served 3 terms in the State House. And her policy experience and the outreach she did across the state for her last campaign will help her win the Democratic primary, they think. The Republicans, of course, are running Matt Rosendale, the state auditor, Secretary of State Corey Stapleton, and Corvallis Superintendent Timothy Allen Johnson, and Lewis and Clark County Republican Party Chair Joe Dooling. So that's
okay. So I have an oxymoron question for you.
Okay. So
you just said she spent 30 years in
3 terms in the House.
No, but in
more than 3 decades in natural resources policy. So
okay, so she spent 30 years in natural resources policy, and there's no mining or lumbering in Montana. Really? What's she been doing for 30 years? I mean, she's no mining and no cutting of trees.
I guess she just kept a close eye on those policies.
30 years.
I don't know, 30 years. So
right. That's a qualifier for
That's
you, buddy.
That's a qualifier. All right. All right, we've got to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with more of the KMMS Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane right after these important words. So stay tuned. 21 minutes after the hour of 7 a.m., Jennifer Bordy will join us at 8 o'clock. Law Babe, it is Friday, August 16th, 2019, 51 degrees outside. And Shane Taubman, half man, half amazing, is my co-host in Vancouver, British Columbia. Tom Eagleoff, your morning mayor. Welcome to the second hour of the Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. And want to remind everybody, make sure you get the KMMS AM 1450 KMMS app, the AM 1450 KMMS app, because, well, you'd go over to our website and find out that Hickenlooper is ending his Right House run. American veteran pleads not guilty in a case. Country music legend Travis Tritt mingles with some fans in Missoula. And, of course, our poll question of the day is also over there. So lots happening in there. 29 citizens, or 29 become American citizens. You could read about that. MSU Move-In Day. You'll find out all about that. Bozeman's parking garage getting high tech and will bust cheaters. So all of that is over at our website, KMMSAM.com. So get it on your smartphone, AM 1450 KMMS app, or on your computer at KMMSAM.com. So there.
Yeah, you go.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Huge.
Excellent
gigantic.
stuff. Excellent stuff.
You bet, baby.
Yeah. Hey, don't forget also coming up on the 17th, this Saturday, over at the Potato Fest in Manhattan, the Manhattan Volunteer Fire Department is having a fundraiser breakfast. They are going to be serving, all kinds of stuff, scrambled eggs and sausage and milk and orange juice and bacon and you name it, they're cooking it over there. So they'll have you going pretty good. So get over there and support those folks and see how they will work out. Let's see, from our text line, Gabbard and Yang could beat Trump. Well, if I had to look at somebody for 4 years, Gabbard would be one that I wouldn't mind looking at for. I don't know what kind of president she would make, but she's certainly easy on the eyes. Yang, I like Yang because I want that $1,000 a month. That he's going to propose. I need those bucks. And Matt Rosendale, perennial loser and carpetbagger. So there you go with some testimonial for Matt. Let's see what the callers have to say. 522-TALK is the number, 522-8255. Caller, you're on the Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. What's up?
Hey, I didn't know my blinky scooter couldn't park in the garage, man. All I do is go around the gate.
Oh, okay.
They call me a cheater?
Yeah, you're cheating, man. You gotta throw some coin in the box, or something, or leave a quarter on the top of the thing there, or something.
I thought that's why you rode scooters. You scoot in, you scoot out.
Well, that must be it. Yeah.
Sounds like a burger joint to me.
It does, doesn't it?
So, yeah. I thought there was going back to what Clint was calling about, I thought there was a law or an SEC deal that you're not supposed to give personal back-to-back messages over the air when you're talking on shows. You might want to look into that.
Back-to-back messages?
There used to be.
What are you talking about?
Well, you got personal spat with somebody.
Yeah.
So you guys like chew on each other back and forth, And,
oh, yeah.
Yeah, like they've been doing, or not really, but kind of, they've been doing it. Too bit tired of it.
Yeah, we don't want to dwell. We don't want to dwell on. It's good radio while it lasts, but it gets boring over time. If it keeps going.
So I just thought that that there was an FCC law against that, but I don't know. You might want to look.
As far as I know, I think there's only 8 words I can't say, and that's about it.
Oh, well, we know about those. Yeah. So, all right. But so it's not true then that you get 10 points for every scooter you hit downtown?
I haven't heard that. We'll check with Jeff Krause tomorrow and see if that's a city ordinance now that you get some points if you hit a scooter.
Oh, I didn't know Jeff worked on Saturdays now.
Well, no, he'll be here tomorrow.
On Saturday.
Oh, Tom, can you legally drive scooters?
Oh, that's right. It's Friday. Lane? It's Friday. Yeah, I forgot about it being Friday.
My brain tonight, or
he'll be here Tuesday. He'll be here Tuesday. Yeah, I forgot what day it is. I'm glad it's not Monday.
Do you know if you can ride those? Can you ride those scooters in the bike lanes? Do you know, Tom?
I don't know.
I think you're supposed to.
Yeah, is that where they're supposed to drive them? Okay.
I don't think you're supposed to. I think they're in the same class motorcycles are. I don't know, or motorbikes or whatever. So I did know that on the way to work this morning at 4:30 in the morning, I did see 2 scooters parked on the sidewalk, just sitting there.
Well, yeah, because they leave them out overnight.
Yeah, so they just leave them sit there. So I don't know.
They must have GPS on them. Otherwise, if you're in some other towns, man, somebody come by and nick them. They take them home, scrap them out, and
yeah, they look on the computer screen, see where they all are. I guess.
fine. Yeah, they try the GPS units and just get rid of them that way. All right, so just don't remember. I think it's 10 points for every student you hit because that's why they're called blinkies.
Okay.
I didn't see the guy. He was going the wrong way on the sidewalk. Oh wait, I was in a car. I'm not supposed to drive on the sidewalk either.
Yeah, that's probably not a smart thing to do.
All right.
All right. Hey, thanks for the call. All right. There we are. All right. What else is happening here this morning? I'm still thinking it's Monday, I guess.
That's right.
I don't know what day it is. I'm lost here. Not sure what's happening. Well, let's see. From we got our text line caught up, I believe. That's why farmers are only buried 2 feet deep, so they can still get their hand out.
Wow.
There we are. That's the joke of the day, I guess, for the show. And let's see. That pretty well cleans up our text line. So the other thing that we need to talk about, we were talking about Manhattan and the Potato Fest over there. But Manhattan is going to ask voters in November to approve $16,000 tax increase to give police officers raises over there to get them in line with the other police officers are being paid around the country or around the state, I guess. And if they approve it, if you own a $200,000 house, it'll be a $13.50 tax increase on your property taxes. So, hey, a medium pizza and a drink. What's the big deal? Pay your cops.
Right. That's right. Yeah,
That's
you got
right.
to, baby.
That's right. All right, bottom of the hour, Fox News coming up, Montana State News, Rich's Flooring, and Bozeman Sport and Spine, and, of course, Zip Recruiter, and Mark Levin. A lot coming. We'll be right back. Jennifer Bordy in at 8. We'll talk with her then and take your calls, and we'll continue with the local stuff going on and maybe try to get into the 5 things you need to know. We'll be right back with more right after this. 24 minutes for the top of the hour. It's Friday, August 16th, 2019, 54 degrees outside. Looking for a high in the upper to mid 70s, or mid to upper 70s, I should say, probably Shane Montalban.
Yeah.
Half man, half amazing in Vancouver, British Columbia. My co-host and Tom Eaglehoff, your morning mayor in the house. And welcome back to the Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. And we thank you very much. We're at 1,330 downloads of our shows.
Huge.
We thank you very much for that. And by all means, get over to KMMSAM.com and or on your smartphone at AM 1450 KMMS and look for the Tom and Shane podcast. Pop on that, and you can hear all of our past shows here that over the past year or so that we've been sitting here. So.
That's right. So I have to cover this because it's important. Okay, this whole thing that's gone on for the last 48 hours with these congressmen going to Israel or not.
Yeah.
You know, I don't understand the Democrats, Tom. I mean, don't they know their own history? You know, they keep attacking the president about this and Israel about it, and saying this is a precedent-setting issue, and it's not, because in March of 2009. Or in 2009 and again in March 2012, the Obama administration refused to issue a visa to Michael Ben-Ari, who was an elected member of the Knesset, the Israeli parliament. So, I mean, the guy that set the president not to issue a political visa was Barack Obama. You know, they called him a terrorist, him and Clinton, even though he'd never been a member of a terrorist group or ever participated in a terrorist attack. But you'd think the Democrats, before they put their foot in this, would look at their own history, right?
Well, they don't think anybody will check. You know, they don't. I mean, they're still operating like it was 1940, and there's no internet, and there's no bloggers, and there's nobody that fact checks anything. And they, go out and Trump's a perfect example. Goes out and says everything. Yeah. Less than 24 hours later, everything he said is crap.
Exactly.
I mean, that's.
But I just had to mention that because it's one of those things. It becomes such a huge talking point in the news cycle, and then you just go check it out, and it's like, wow, where are those Pinocchios from the Washington Post?
Yeah, well, they gave that up when Bezos bought it.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
That went away. So
Yeah.
but I did watch the Trump thing last night in New Hampshire.
Okay.
And the most amazing thing is the number of people that this guy attracts. I mean, it's just off the charts. I mean,
yeah.
And we've never had a person at the head of the United States like Trump is. I mean, we've never had anybody talk about the opponents like Trump does. We've never heard him talk. We've never heard anybody say anything without a focus group, to tell you what to say. This guy says what he wants, whatever he wants, and whether you like it or not, a lot of people certainly don't like his tweets, and I don't know that everything is, everything he tweets is 100% necessary. But, when you look at the results of the presidency so far and the accomplishments so far, I mean, it's pretty hard to argue with him being a pretty successful first 3 years in office.
Well, and you combine that with his willingness to talk to the press when he's leaving or coming back to the White House.
I was going to say, Obama would never. Obama would never do that. Obama never goes over and talks to the press. And if the few times that he did a press conference, his answers are 45 minutes long. So he gets like 2 questions in a press conference and yaks for half an hour. But
well, when you get a question like, "What's your favorite thing about being in the White House?"
Yeah, right.
Like...
Yeah. Well, that's pretty much what. That's the news cycle that we're in. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. We got to take a quick break here. It's a short one though. We'll be right back. 17 minutes before the top of the hour. It's Friday, August 16, 2019, 55 degrees outside. From our text line, 478-8298, Justin Bieber attracts a large crowd. Size of crowd means what? He can attract sheep? Well, I'm glad you brought up Justin Bieber because the reason that Trump attracts so many people to his rallies is, like Justin Bieber, he's an entertainer. It's entertaining.
Right. Good call.
Nobody's going to go listen to an hour-and-a-half political speech from Elizabeth Warren. It's not entertaining. And any of the other, whether it's Republicans or Democrats, I'm not going to go listen to an hour-and-a-half of Ted Cruz. Or these guys. I mean, they're not entertaining. Trump rally is entertainment, and that's why he fills these 11, 12,000 seat places, and that's why so many people turn out for him. And it doesn't matter where he goes. In New Hampshire, you going to tell me that there's that many Republicans in New Hampshire? I don't think so.
Well, that's why sports are so popular in your country. Americans love to cheer and stand up and get excited.
Yeah, that's the whole.
And that's what he does. He gets people all pumped up, and they all feel good. They go home feeling good and go, "Wow, that guy's great, and that was fun." And okay, Mabel, let's go home. It'll take us 2 hours, but it was worth it.
Yeah. You're standing in line almost all day to get in.
Yeah.
I mean, you're standing in line to get in a Bieber concert probably too, unless you got your tickets online or wherever. But that's the whole point. The crowd size says a lot because this guy can attract that many people and hold them for an hour and a half. And I don't think Elizabeth Warren, I don't think Biden, Beto, you name it, Mayor Pete, Kelsey might, or Gabbard might if she came out in a string bikini or something. I don't know, maybe. But...
Yeah, but you're like Parcell, who's the chairman of his election campaign. He's a social network guy like you are.
Yeah.
You've set to show up in the station with all the social networking, and it's phenomenal. It's remarkable, and it works. It draws and attracts people.
Yeah.
So last night they had 12,000 people inside, 5,000 outside, and a guy from the campaign comes out and tells them how to hook their app up.
Yeah. So they can watch
the re-election, so they can communicate with them. And, the bottom line is, whether or not you want to believe that his argument with the press is right or wrong, he's still reaching 100 million Americans.
Yeah.
Every day. It's incredible. It's impressive.
Yeah. From our text line, 478-8298. I feel good knowing we have an entertainer in the White House instead of someone who is qualified. Well, the results are, you can look at what he's accomplished and either take it or leave it. I mean,
well, it's either fact or fiction. No, truth or fact. Which we have to ask Biden, are these truths or facts?
Yeah. All right, from our text line, no class. Trump bashes New Hampshire protester. That guy has got a serious weight problem. Yeah.
Weight important. He says that guy had a serious weight problem, like me. He said, self-deprecation is a positive thing when you're in front of a big crowd. They love it. Yeah. If you can make fun of yourself, you can make fun of anyone else.
That's true. From our text line, Warren had around 700 people a few days before, makes the left both jealous and angry. Yeah, I think it would make you angry to see the number of people that show up for Trump. I mean, it's got to have a psychological effect on you when you see that nobody else running on the opposite side is going to attract anything close to that number. Now, right. maybe when it gets down to one or two, that might happen.
Well, that's right. And the giggle about it is that every Democratic person running for president of your country had to go to Iowa to get a bigger crowd. The state fair, right? They had to go to the state fair to stand on the soapbox, and could say, "Oh, look at how big this crowd is." Oh, well, they're there for the fair.
Right. Yeah, I was going to say, yeah. Oh, let's see. Rallies are mock fest and lies. What does that say about those who attend? Well, when I was having my knees done, when we would go to Walmart, because it was, not easy for me to wander around when I got my knees done. I'm sitting in the front of Walmart, and as people are filing in, I'm sitting there going, "Yep, that's a Democrat. No, that's a Republican. That's a Democrat. That's a Democrat." And I start looking at the fans of Trump, and I'm going, "Wait a minute, that looks like a Democrat that walked in Walmart. That looks like a Democrat that walked in Walmart." They have that look. But why are they holding a Trump sign? I don't know. So. Anyway, it says about those who attend, they want to have a fun experience and say they saw the president in person. I mean, people lined up around the block to see Obama here.
Well, that's right. Yeah. And every time you demean the people that support Trump, it only encourages more to shift, more to send money, more to engage, and more to vote. And I don't think the Democrats get that, right?
No, I don't think they do. Trump never makes fun of his own weight. He mocks people's appearance so shallow. So honest,
that was wrong.
Maybe.
Because last night he did make fun of his own weight. Yeah. So there you go.
Let's see, from our text line, Aaron was comparing apples to oranges yesterday. The expense, risk, insurance, repair, maintenance, and transportation logistics involved with running my ranch compared to a farmer's market vendor. Aaron is a real funny guy. As I said yesterday, I would have to contort myself into all sorts of unnatural positions to see things from Aaron's perspective. That's from Steve-O.
Well, the old expression, the Indian expression, walk a mile in another man's moccasins. Mm-hmm. I'd like people to go out and spend a day with a farmer or a rancher. 4 or 5 in the morning till 8 or 9 at night. Maybe a sandwich and a lunchbox during the day. These people put in 12 to 16, 18 hours, every day of the year, because when ranchers certainly, but farmers in the off season, their maintenance, repairs, maintaining the property and doing repairs on equipment. These people spend an incredible lifetime, and like I said, 15 to 18 hours a day, every 7 by 24, baby. This is not a 5-day, job.
Yeah. Trump's years on The Apprentice showed he's a showman. Trump upstaged Ted Cruz, who is a 4-time national debate champ. So, what can I tell you?
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, let's see. From our text line, we've got a headline here. Why is Obama administration increasingly rejecting Israeli visa applications? During 2013, 9.7% of Israelis who requested visas were denied. So,
well, there you go.
Don't know.
That's right.
Yeah. So let's see. I think that's clears up our text line, and check our app chat. All right, we're up to date on everything. Whoops, we just had one more come in. This one's for me, Shane.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Let me go back here
I
a minute.
gave a lot of fire today, so it's your turn.
Oh yeah. Morning moron. That would be me. All right. So.
No. Really? Did someone really say that?
They really said that. That's okay. Hey, I don't mind. Let's go. We've got to take a quick break here, but it's only 1 minute. We'll be right back. Welcome back. It is Friday, August 16th, 2019. Caller on the line. Let's go to the phones. 522-TALK is the number, 522-8255. Caller, you're on the Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. What's up?
Hey, good morning, Tom and Shane. How are you guys doing?
Great.
Great. Thank you.
Hey, good. Hey, I just wanted to see what you guys thought about Northwestern Energy. I've heard that power prices are going to go up threefold over the course of the winter because of the coal strip thing.
Well, that could be possible. I haven't heard that, but with coal strip is supposed to close down, I believe, in December. The first one is. Mm-hmm. Now, whether Northwestern Energy has alternative sources provided or in the pipeline, I have not heard that. So I don't know. You got new news for us.
Yeah, I've heard that they're trying to buy up as much power as possible, but they're figuring that the rates will go up almost threefold this winter.
Wow!
I just don't know how Montanans are going to afford it. I just wonder if the state's going to do anything about it.
Yeah, any rate increase has to be approved by the Public Service Commission. So they could go and make their case, but the PCA or whatever it is, PSC, I guess, would have to approve any rate increase that they would bring to the people.
Yeah, I'm hoping that it doesn't happen, but
yeah.
I just talked to somebody who was at a meeting about that, and that's what they're saying.
Yeah. Well, it's entirely possible, but it would be up to the Public Service Commission before they would be able to they can't just arbitrarily raise rates without presenting it to them. So
I think they're planning on doing that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
but that's all I got.
Let's hope they don't. We'll try and keep an eye on that. We could reach out to Roger Koopman, who's on that committee, and or has he left that committee? I can't remember. But anyway, he would maybe know, or perhaps someone else who is familiar with that can give us a call and let us know.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for the call. Yeah, we'll try and look into that and see what we can find out. I appreciate you letting us know about that.
You bet. I love your guys' show.
All right. Hey, thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. That's kind of you. Have a good weekend.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Well, that would be kind of a. As I say, I seriously. If rates are going to double, that would be pretty tough on people. I have budget billing, and what I do is I pay the same amount year round. You know, so I'll pay more in the summer and less in the winter. But I mean, it's all every month. I know what the electricity bill is going to be. So
yeah, it's an average.
Yeah,
so
and it fluctuates up or down. A few dollars each year or whatever. But yeah, if they're going to double it, that's
ouch.
Even for the winter. So I don't know, but we'll find out, I guess, as we'll try and look into that. I'll see if I can make some calls and maybe find out if that's the case or not. Speaking of that, Shane, we had a couple things yesterday that came up in addition to the farm subsidies and everything.
Yeah.
And I wanted to make a quick comment on that. We had somebody who called and was talking about that coming up in 2020, you couldn't buy supplemental insurance any longer.
Right. I went and tried to look on that. I couldn't find in the 2015 budget a rider that he talked about. I looked at it. I went through the legislation. Yeah. Now, the interesting thing about this is that there was a budget in 2015 from the Obama administration, but it was never considered because it's, they always do the continuing resolution.
Yeah.
So there may have been a rider, but it would never have been considered because they didn't pass the budget.
Well, what I think he may be talking about is the Medicare Access and Chip Reauthorization Act of 2015.
Oh, maybe that's what he's talking about. I didn't see that.
And this was the law that was supposed to fix the doc fix.
Okay.
If you remember Medicare, they kept kicking the can down the road because Medicare was scheduled to reduce the amount of pay that doctors were supposed to receive. And so in this act, signed on April 16, 2015, in addition to increasing Medicare premiums for wealthier Medicare recipients, the law also set a new formula for calculating payments to doctors and other providers who treat Medicare patients, and it was passed by Congress by overwhelming margins. And we're talking about Medicare Part B, not the supplemental plan that you buy to cover the 20% Medicare does not cover. So we're talking about Part B, which you do pay for. It's taken out of your Social Security usually, and it's about $100 and some a month, I believe. But they made it up. Let's see, back then, Part B was $104.90. I believe it's around $130 or something now. But
the argument there that we've always talked about too is that I believe your government set it up as an 80% coverage to force people to buy insurance because the insurance companies are having a serious problem. Millennials aren't buying insurance, right? So, it's your government's always in the pocket of these, lobbyists, particularly, pharma, insurance, to help them out, right? We've talked about the reimbursement, the insurance on Obamacare. I mean, it's one of those issues that, again, no one wants to talk about. It's one of those, we don't want to go there because we'd have to explain ourselves, right?
So anyway, this just set a higher premium for those who are making between 85 and 107,000 or 214 or above or whatever. So it doesn't affect, and maybe I misunderstood what the caller was saying, but it does not affect. It does not affect the 20% that you go out and buy physically. They aren't going to prohibit that, but they may. If you're in Medicare before 2020, they're still going to take it out of your Social Security, but after that, you may have to pay out of pocket for it. So, all right. That does it for us. Jennifer Bordy's in the house. We're going to get with the law, babe, when we come right back right after the news at the top of the hour.
Helps if you turn the mic on.
Helps if we turn the mic on, yeah. Thank you, Dan. It's 6 minutes after the hour of 8 o'clock. Already I have to be retrained after all.
I was going to say, was that the first thing we learned at radio school?
Yeah. Turn the mics on and turn them off. So we did both of them.
That too.
Yeah. Jennifer Bordy is in the house. Shaman Taubman, half man, half amazing, in Vancouver, British Columbia, on with us. And Tom Eagle, your morning mayor. And we got the law babe here. And we're going to talk about
something I swore I wasn't going to talk about until next year. But the best laid plans, as they say. Well, because the Ninth Circuit, or a panel of the Ninth Circuit, it was not the full Ninth Circuit, and it could be appealed, in essence. That's not quite the right terminology, but people know what I mean, to the full panel. Yeah. But at any rate, there was a case this week decided by a panel of the Ninth Circuit about Montana's campaign finance laws. So it seemed like, I guess I better talk about at least some aspects of the election. Okay. No candidate talk.
Yeah, okay.
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
But we'll talk about laws.
Okay. And so we're talking about donating to a campaign. In other words, you write a check.
We're not.
We're not.
That is still illegal for corporations. And
but I mean, I can
donate to an individual.
I can donate to an individual, but
I'm
restricted by the amount I give them.
You are restricted, and also up to a certain amount, you wouldn't be reported if, I think it's still $35. If you donate $34.99 to a candidate, they don't have to report you. Oh, but or report you. It sounded a little Big Brother-ish there, didn't it?
Yeah. the Gestapo doesn't have to know
Right.
about me, huh?
And then, yes, you're right. There is a limit on what you as an individual can donate.
Right.
But let's go back in time a little bit
Okay.
to something we discussed years ago, of course, and one a decision that maybe causes even more controversy than the New London, Connecticut decision about property rights under the Fifth Amendment, and that is Citizens United versus the FEC, which, if you recall, was a 2010 decision by the United States Supreme Court and is widely considered both one of its most controversial and one of its most important decisions, because what it decided in that case is that the free speech clause of the First Amendment prohibits the government from restricting independent expenditures for political communications by corporations, including nonprofit corporations, labor unions, and other associations. But that is for what we call electioneering speech, which is usually defined, and that can be a state-by-state thing, but is usually, well, and it was defined under this 2002 Act, the, the Bipartisan Campaign Reform Act. It's usually called by its initials, so it's sometimes hard for me to remember its accurate name. But anyway, so that was a 2002 Act that electioneering usually involves speech, political speech, 30 days before primary in most jurisdictions and 60 days before general election. But some of it is direct or express electioneering, meaning it's going to be speech that definitely supports or opposes a candidate or a ballot issue or something that you're going to be voting on at the election. And there's also indirect electioneering, meaning they may not really support or oppose a candidate directly, but for example, the speech that was at issue in the Citizens United case was a movie. It was called Hillary the Movie, and it was maligning Hillary in essence, but it never said don't vote for her or vote for her. Obviously, it was against her. But
and was it within 90 days of the election or something like that?
Yes,
so,
60 days.
So 60 days, okay.
So what the U.S. Supreme Court held in Citizens United is that was restriction and unconstitutional restriction on free speech against corporations. It defined corporations as persons, and hopefully we'll have a little bit of time to also talk about other things that Montana did to try to negate the impact of Citizens United. But one thing Citizens United didn't do, and I don't think most of us either remember this or understood it at the time, is it still didn't restrict, and in fact specifically said it's okay to have some regulation in terms of reporting requirements and other things like that. You couldn't restrict the amount that a corporation or a labor union or whatever organization can spend on electioneering speech, but you can still make them report who's donating, where the money's going, what it's being used for. So contributions and expenditures, depending on how much electioneering you do. For example, now we're switching to what Montana law requires. If you just do it occasionally, if your organization just does it, it's called an incidental committee. There's a lot less requirements for reporting and how often you have to report and what you have to report versus if you do it generally. Like yes, if you do it as a regular activity, then you have to report contributions and expenditures. I think the incidental committees only have to report expenditures. They don't have to report who's contributing to them. But frankly, I think that's one of the things, and we talk about it a lot. I mean, people call up the station a lot and complain about either what the Cook brothers are doing or somebody else, and that are generally more related. Sounds like individuals, but they're really an organization. Yeah, they're a corporation. So, so I think we want to know. We want to know who's trying to influence us. And that's why I would think most people are okay with the reporting requirements. And I think most of us, at least in Montana, would rather see that there also be a limit to what corporations can spend, because I don't think any of us want corporations to be dictating who we elect, who runs our government, and how the government is run. Yeah. So there's that's a little bit of what came out of Citizens United, unfortunately. But with that background, then we can talk about what's happened in Montana since and the laws that we've passed to try to.
Okay. Shane's got a point he wants to make while we're talking.
Yeah, I think it's important because this decision on Monday by a panel of the Ninth Circuit there's three things about this that are important. First of all, people need to know that it's a panel of three, so it's not the full nine judges on the circuit. So it can be appealed, the panel decision. But it was in regard to the National Association of Gun Rights, who sued the state of Montana in 2016. So it took 3 years for this panel to review this, to strike down the state law. They're a 501c4 company or
they
group.
Didn't strike down the state law.
No. I'm just saying that they ruled in favor of the National Association of Gun Rights. Anyway, the thing is, they're a 501c4,
no.
so they have to report to the. May I finish? They have to report to the Federal Election Committee, and they wanted to send mailers to voters about public officials who support or oppose the Second Amendment ahead of the 2020 elections, but they didn't want to register as a political committee in the state. So the interesting thing about this is it could be precedent-setting with regards to the Second Amendment. But interestingly enough, if some liberal group wants to appeal this panel's decision, it could go to the Ninth Circuit for a full disclosure, for a full decision.
Okay, but the Montana law, in all respects except one, was upheld. So the gun group didn't win. They don't want to have to register. They don't want to have to report their contributions, and they don't want to have to report their expenditures, and that's why they challenged the law. And actually, the district court here in Montana agreed with them. So that was appealed to the Ninth Circuit, and as I said at the beginning, and as Shane emphasized, yes, it was heard by a panel. It could be still appealed to the full panel for a decision, which may or may not come out differently. But the Montana law was upheld in all respects except one, and that was that you had to have a registered Montana voter as your treasurer. So let me start out and go a little bit backwards from what Shane was saying so that you can fully understand what the laws in Montana were, or are, I guess I should say, because we've done a couple of things since Citizens United to try to reduce the impact. One of them is we actually have a law, and it was on the books before Citizens United, and it's been amended a little bit since then, where it says that we have a policy. It does only apply to elected officials, but or appointed officials as well, so not necessarily people during elections. But we actually have a policy that that is supposed to prohibit wherever possible corporations from making contributions to or expenditures on the campaigns of candidates or ballot issues. So, and actually Citizens United still left that, it's illegal to make direct contributions by corporations to candidates. So that we still have that, and it got emphasized. And as I think most of us know, we have a long tradition of that stemming from the War of the Copper Kings back in the early 1900s when almost all elections in Montana were dirty elections. So we've had a strong tradition of looking with suspicion upon that. And another thing that we enacted in light of Citizens United is it says in our policy that the people of Montana regard money as property, not speech. So at any rate, so having said that, the law that was being challenged, which I now have lost that because I went to where the policy was, but the law itself says that qualifying political committees, which first of all means that they spend more than $250. That's the cutoff, if you will. Anything less than $250 spent by an organization doesn't have to follow these requirements. So qualifying political committees need to file a 2-page registration form with the state. It contains basic identifying information. They have to appoint a treasurer, and the law does specify it has to be a registered Montana voter. That's the only part of the law that was struck down, and the Ninth Circuit panel specifically said that it doesn't negate the rest of the law. That provision can stand alone and be taken out without hurting the rest of the law. Also, they have to abide by certain bank depository requirements, and they have to keep current records of contributions and expenditures. And then they have to report these expenditures on a fairly regular basis. And there's like
usually it's quarterly,
there's a couple before the election, and then one after the election.
Yeah.
So
what was
exactly
spent the
and
days leading up to the election.
And if you are a committee or an organization that does this on a regular basis, you also have to report who your contributors were. And I think, I'm not positive of this, but I think there is also, like with independent contributions to campaigns, I think maybe if it's less than a certain amount.
Now, nonprofits, I don't think have to report their donors, do they?
Well, that's another case that came out here in Montana, at least the week before. And if we have time, I'm going to talk about that one too.
Let's take a break, and then we'll continue on. All right, Jennifer Bordy, Law Babe in the house. We're talking about Montana campaign laws and the Ninth Circuit decision, and we'll be right back with more right after this. 20 minutes after the hour of 8 o'clock. It is Friday, August 16th, 2019, 57 degrees outside. Shane Tallman, half man, half amazing. My co-host from Vancouver, British Columbia, and Tommy Gallop, your morning mayor. And, of course, we've got the law babe in the house, Jennifer Bordy, and we're talking about Montana campaign laws and a recent decision by the Ninth Circuit regarding the same. So let's continue on with that discussion then.
Okay, so there's just one more aspect of the law itself I want to talk about before we go on to the actual case, which is that it also has to be a communication intended to be received, probably in fact received, by more than 100 recipients. And at long last, the law does. It came into the 21st century, and it talks about all kinds of communications, including via internet, mail, snail mail, email, phone. I mean, I think I saw the list that was very comprehensive, every kind of communication there could possibly be, which we are definitely running into in this day and age. So with that understanding of what our law is on this particular regard, the National Association of Gun Rights wants to next year, so they were taking preemptive action to see whether or not this would be okay. They want to send around, I'm not sure how, probably by TV, a communication, or maybe by mail, I'm sorry, that lets people know where candidates stand on gun rights. So it's not direct electioneering. In other words, it doesn't support a candidate directly or a ballot initiative or anything like that. But by telling you where candidates stand on gun rights, obviously they do hope to persuade at least some voters that some candidates are better than others.
But wouldn't that favor one candidate over another? So you could make the case that it's for this candidate or that candidate? Yes,
because obviously there's a lot of voters in Montana who consider gun rights very important. They do want to know where their candidates stand. But the communication itself is not going to come out and say vote for so-and-so or don't vote for so-and-so because of their position on gun rights. So that's what they want to do. But they don't want to have to report who contributes. They don't have to report their expenditures. They don't want to be subject to any of the other requirements, and so they challenge the law. And the district court did agree with them, surprisingly, in Montana. Well, actually, maybe not surprisingly. Not so surprisingly. Okay. But so they appealed to the Ninth Circuit, and a panel of the Ninth Circuit heard. So there could be a reconsideration. It's not actually an appeal, but it's generally a reconsideration by the full panel.
Right.
According to what I read in the newspaper, though, the National Association of Gun Rights hasn't decided whether or not they're going to do that. They seem to be pretty happy that they did win on the one bit of it's not constitutional to require the treasurer to be a registered Montana voter. And I have to say, I'm sort of skipping to the end now because we do want to talk more about what was okay with the law. But when I first saw that they overturned that part, I thought, oh, so it's okay for some out-of-stater to be the treasurer. That isn't what they meant. They just meant you don't have to be a registered Montana voter. Now, it may or may not mean they still have to be a Montanan, which I think most of us would probably like to be the case, but they just don't have to be a registered voter. And that was based a lot in part on a prior U.S. Supreme Court decision that held that you couldn't require people that disseminated election speech, electioneering or campaign or anything to be registered voters, that was unconstitutional, that was limiting free speech. And that was actually a pretty good decision, and nothing that's happened since has overturned that particular decision. But in terms of why it's okay to say that there can be like registration requirements or reporting requirements is a better way to put it, because they did hold treasurers don't have to be a registered Montana voter. But the thing is that it doesn't, first of all, most cases have held that you can, I'm not talking very well this morning, sorry. You can limit some aspects of speech because it's not really limiting the speech itself. To say that you have to report who your contributors are, that's a whole nother issue, really.
Yeah.
Or that you have to report what your expenditures were. That is actually, it furthers a significant public interest that we as voters, we want to know. I know I said this earlier, but it's that important. It's worth repeating. We want to know who is trying to influence our votes. And especially, I would say, listeners of this radio show, they want to know. They are people that are concerned with who is trying to influence or buy elections. And I think most of us do feel that elections are out there to be bought. Although
in some cases, that's certainly true. Shane has a point.
My question. I have two questions for Jennifer. Welcome to the house, by the way, Jennifer. My first question is, what's the Ninth Circuit's position been on voter ID? Because it'd be interesting to hear what the contradiction there is with regards to this. And then number two, what's your position on the fact that China's influenced your election by giving Biden family $1.5 billion?
Well, first of all, I don't know that the Ninth Circuit has considered voter ID, but I don't think it has. At least it hasn't. I haven't read that it has. So that's my answer on that one. Yeah. And I don't know that if China gave Biden $1.5 billion, I don't know what you just said, $1.5 million, that's influenced the election.
$1.5 billion.
$1.5 billion, because for one thing, it is, practically traditional that an early front runner doesn't end up being the candidate. So I don't know if that money is going to influence the election or not. That's one of the reasons why I don't want to talk about candidates until next year, because it's way too early and there's way too much going on and the field is way too wide at this point. And as Montanans, we really don't have any influence on the early stages of who's going to be a candidate. So, so as far as I'm concerned, I don't care. At this point, it doesn't mean it's going to have anything to do with the election.
Yeah, we have a sound bite. We're not going to play it today because it's about 6 minutes long, but I'm going to try to remember to play it on Monday. It's the former editor of Psychology Today talking about Google in a Senate testimony that if Google were to send "Go Vote" only to Democrat subscribers to Facebook, that would account for anywhere from 3 million to as many as 12 million people to turn out who wouldn't ordinarily, just from saying get off the couch and go vote.
Well, that's interesting. And I have no idea. How do they figure out who? Because, like in Montana, we don't register as one or the other.
Well, I think they go by
but they might see what they've posted. But I'm on Facebook, but I never am on Facebook. I don't post anything. And so they'll never figure out what I am. Well, I haven't figured out what I am.
But I think, there's enough people that do post their political views that
that's true.
You can pretty well identify that. And as you mentioned, we don't register here, but in many states they do. And if you're doing it in California or New York or states that are battleground states, so to speak.
I have to admit, it's almost fun watching various branches of my family, like the Nebraska Bordys are very Trump-oriented and post things pro-Trump all the time. But the Kentucky and the
other Bordys
Kansas Bordys and the Texas, that's my mom's side of the family. They're not. And it's kind of fun to see all the competing posts.
There you go. All right, we got to end it here for at least for a little while. We've got Fox News, Montana State News, and Brooke Foster weather, and Jacobus will be in, Flagstar Bank, Americans for Tax Reform. There you go. Got to have that. So.
Yeah.
We'll be right back with Jennifer and Tom and Shane right after these important words. Stay tuned. 23 minutes for the top of the hour. It's Friday, August 16, 2019, 58 degrees outside. We're looking for a high in the mid-70s, mid to upper 70s today. Shane and Tom and Half Man, Half Amazing on the line with me from Vancouver, British Columbia. Tom Eagle up your morning. Mayor, welcome to the KMMS Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. And Jennifer Bordy, our law babe, joins us. So we're talking about Montana campaign laws and stuff like that. So.
And what's going on in the courts with it. So, but back again to the National Association of Gun Rights. I found it fascinating because, first of all, I'd never heard of this particular organization. And I think maybe because the NRA gets all of the spotlight in that regard. But they have 36 members or supporters here in Montana alone. And I think that's a pretty significant number. And apparently 4.5 million members nationwide. So it's actually sounds like a pretty significant organization. However, they are organized under 26 USC Section 501, which most of us recognize as C3 organizations because those are the charities we usually donate to. Yeah. But the 501c4 are organizations that have a social purpose. And so they can also be tax exempt. In fact, I did not know this. So I was looking at it this week. There's actually like 28 or 29 different subsections of 501c, different kinds of tax exempt organizations. But again, the ones we deal with mostly are the 501c3, which is a charity that we donate to. So, but anyway, so they have other requirements under federal law to maintain their 501c4 status. And that includes that they cannot directly or indirectly participate in political campaigns or on behalf of a candidate or in opposition to a candidate for public office. So again, the type of communication that they want to disseminate next year doesn't say vote for so-and-so or vote for so-and-so or don't vote for so-and-so. It says so-and-so feels this about the Second Amendment, or here's his or her voting record on the Second Amendment. So they do not want to trample on their 501c4 designation either. They want to stay tax exempt. And that's another reason why I think that they brought this case to begin with. They want to make
make sure they're staying tax exempt during the thing. Let's take a quick phone call. 522-TALK is the number. Caller, you on the air with Jennifer Bordy. What's going on?
Hey, good morning. I've got two things. First, Jennifer, that interview you referenced a little while ago, maybe Tom did as well, is a interview, or not an interview, it was a testimony in front of a committee with Ted Cruz.
Yes.
And I think the guy's name, was Epstein, oddly enough. Oddly
Alive
enough.
Epstein?
You might be right.
Yeah. But what was fascinating about that is Cruz, in his examination of this guy, went out of his way to point out that the guy was a Democrat, and the guy was very open about it and very, it seemed to me, very candid in his view. And he was a statistician, as I could understand it. His career was based around using big data to analyze various things, and he was saying what you guys just talked about. That the public can be influenced by as much as 5 to 15 million votes, just based on how Google or Facebook said to go vote. And it was really pretty startling to watch it. It's something everyone should watch. It's on YouTube. All you got to do is just search Cruz and I think Epstein.
It is an interesting idea, because how would that fall into what we're discussing, laws that talk about electioneering speech? And
there's
is
no
that
money.
really to say go vote?
Well, there's no money involved either, because it doesn't cost anything to.
Well, I'm not sure that's true. One of the things this case even says is that all election speech costs money.
Well,
so I think it does cost them something to do that.
No. Listen to the caller.
Zuckerberg could put up this message and not cost anything to him.
Yeah, listen to the caller. Go ahead.
Everything costs. But.
Well, no, that's exactly the point. At the click of a button, either one of these two organizations, at no cost, essentially no incremental cost at all, can then put out that view of saying, "Hey, go vote," people do that. Then they respond to that, and that was his point. It was a very low cost or no cost way of influencing the voting
without actually being for or against anything.
Yeah,
exactly.
Or anyone.
Yeah. Well,
it is scary.
Because Google's made it clear this year they want to challenge Trump, and they don't want him elected. They don't want him reelected. So they've publicly already announced that the management of Google has publicly announced they don't want to support.
Is that right?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
They have.
They publicly announced.
Yeah, but if you look at it from just a legal point of view, what could be wrong with any organization just saying go vote? I mean, we have get out the vote organizations.
The only thing that's wrong with it is they said go vote. They only sent it to Democrats.
If they can figure that out, but they probably
what's wrong with it is a concentration of power.
Well, that's true too.
It's not a theoretical question. It's a concentration of power that those two organizations have.
I would point out too that just figuring out who to send that to also would cost money. I mean, it does cost money. It's not a direct expenditure, but it costs money.
The data that they have on people, both in Google and Facebook, they can bring that demographic right down to the household about who votes in which direction.
Yeah, I think
it's called an algorithm, and they can do it instantly.
Yeah, I think Cambridge Analytics probably pretty well figured that out.
It all costs money, though. You guys don't realize. It's the same thing I always question. How can you charge somebody for what the cost of a prosecution was? That prosecutor's on salary. They're always getting paid no matter what case they're working on. It's the same thing with Google.
But nobody paid. Nobody paid for the go vote to go out. No one paid for it.
I'm glad you mentioned the prosecution, because I have another thing I'd like to talk about. It's tangential, but it's still legal, and it's in your world. Jennifer? Do you go to court and try cases?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
I am a litigator.
Yesterday I was. Okay, good. So yesterday I was called for jury duty, and I was very willing to do it and very interested in doing it, very supportive of it.
Good.
I get there, and we're in the jury room, and we're signing in, and pretty soon the jury room, about 10 minutes to 9, begins filling up. By the time 9 o'clock rolls around, which is the designated time to be there, not only was that room full, but it was spilling out into the hallway. They had called, I think, close to 50 people.
Right.
For this trial.
You do, because you have to pick your jurors from that group. So more than the number of jurors are called. Yeah. Okay.
Well, I went through it. Yeah, I saw it. And so they had these, they for whatever selection criteria there was, they selected 12 that went into the jury box, and then 13 sat in chairs below the jury box, which were the kind of the selected pool, and the remaining 24 or so of us sat in the audience. And so I looked at what went on, and I thought, oh, boy, there's really going to be a lot of scrutiny about who's going to be persuaded one way or another. It was some of the most inane questions I've heard a prosecutor. I mean, some of the stupidest stuff I've ever heard.
Unfortunately, that does happen.
In a group. Well, so here's my point. So they wasted the time of 36 people coming there for a voir dire selection process that was just really dumbed down to being meaningless. And so they had some criteria for selection eventually, but as the judge said, he said, we just want to make sure we have everybody here because it's a real inconvenience to us if we have to go find a juror that if we haven't selected, we don't have enough to select from. And I'm thinking, well, you arrogant SOB, you mean to tell me your time is a whole lot more important than my time? And I'm retired. I mean, but just the notion that they're going to waste that many people's time for that kind of a silly selection cycle just flies in the face of what's prudent. I mean, it just doesn't even make sense. Yeah. So
it's frustrating to me as a lawyer to have to sit through a really inane voir dire as well. So it's kind of good to hear from somebody.
Yeah. Well, the judge was looking right past the prosecutor, and I saw his eyes directly looking at her, and his eyes were just rolling around, saying, "Oh my God, here I am! I'm here again."
with this.
It's not
person.
Funny. Did you ever get in front of the bar at all, or were you dismissed without even having to answer
I was
questions?
dismissed. I was dismissed. It was a moderately interesting case, but the thing that bothered me about it was there was just something about a disconnect between what seemed to be a pretty okay system, but it was like just disrespectful of the voting population out here. the people who want to serve as a jury. It certainly didn't set a very good impression to me.
Yeah. It's interesting you said that.
Why do I want to?
Yeah, when you do it every day, I guess it gets old after a while, and you get jaded.
That's not what it is. It's I was about to say I actually had the husband of a former prosecutor ask me once whether I thought she was speaking down to the jury panel and not in a good way. And so it's, sometimes you get a lawyer like that. I'm sorry to say.
Yeah.
But that's not my point. My point is, why in the world do you need a 4-to-1 ratio of selection process?
Because if it's a controversial type of case, like if it was rape or if it was even domestic abuse or homicide, some people have very strong feelings, and sometimes you're going to get a lot of people excused for cause, and then other people would have been called in front of the bar to start the questioning process. Or you might have. There are reasons to call a large jury pool.
Okay, I got to go, guys.
So
I'm sorry.
Does the jury pool vary in size?
Yes,
it can
absolutely.
For cases,
You'll look at it. You'll decide based on what kind of case you have whether or not you think a lot of people might say, no, I can't be fair and impartial, or I've been a victim of rape, or a DUI driver killed my mother.
Okay. In this case, I can understand that.
All right.
Okay.
I got to go, guys. Hey, thanks for the call. All right. We got to take a break. We'll be right back. 5 minutes for the top of the hour, and Shane Talbot on the line with me from Vancouver, British Columbia. Half man, half amazing. Tommy Gallop, your morning mayor, and this is the KMMS Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane and law babe Jennifer Bordy.
So we don't have too much time left, so I'm going to kind of just say what I thought was the real important crux of this decision and mention in passing another one that was decided earlier this week by the Federal District Court here in Montana. Or actually, that was last week, sorry. But in any way, we passed this law in 2015, and we had the stated purpose of increasing transparency, informing Montanans about who is behind the messages vying for their attention. I love the way that one was phrased. And decreasing circumvention of campaign finance laws. And in essence, what the Ninth Circuit panel held was that is a very important state interest, and the law furthers that state interest, and so it's okay. And in other courts, other circuits, other state courts have agreed with that. So whether or not we see this particular issue wend its way up to the U.S. Supreme Court, which we may not. They may not take a case like this because they may feel that they already decreed in Citizens United that it's okay to regulate those aspects of electioneering speech. But on the other hand, it wouldn't be the first time the U.S. Supreme Court decided it wanted to reverse itself, which it in essence did back in Citizens United. So who knows? I kind of feel like they're going to maybe leave this one as it is because most of the courts are in agreement about that this is okay. And a lot of times that's why the U.S. Supreme Court might take something is because other courts are not in agreement. And again, they may feel they've already spoken to this issue.
Okay. Let's take a quick phone call. 522-TALK is the number. Caller, you're on the air with Jennifer Bordy. Tom and Shane, what's up?
Well, good morning, Jennifer Bordy and Tom and Shane.
Hey.
Good morning.
You know, you're talking about Robert Epstein's before the committee there with Ted Cruz and all that.
Yeah.
And he only addressed one side. And I would agree that he's correct. They could definitely swing that many votes at little or no cost. But the bigger picture here is they're banning conservatives off the net, in one way, shape, or form or another. Is that not electioneering? Is that not a contribution to one party and not the other?
Well, no, because electioneering is specifically tied to a time before an election, 30 days before a primary, 60 days before a general. So that's not electioneering. Is that some other kind of prohibited speech or infringing on speech? That's a pretty good question, but the answer is probably no, because that's not the government.
So it's so you have 18 months of indoctrination.
Yeah, something like that.
And if you stop at 60 days before the election, you're okay.
Well, they are
that might be what they come up with.
They are subsidized by the government. That They're given special treatment by the government, and one of the ways they live up to get that or qualified to get that is that the platform is open, and the platform clearly isn't open. It's all over the place. What's going on here?
But it isn't an open platform. They already restrict all kinds of things like child pornography, or they try to, and hate speech. So, I mean, there's different kinds of ways in which they impact your ability to freely say whatever you want.
That falls on the person who's saying it. They're exempt from liable when somebody on their platform says whatever. Bang, this is bad. But so the subsidy is there, and maybe subsidy isn't the proper term, but if you're banning people from one side of the aisle, and
I don't think it would be called government speech, though, or government restriction on speech. I could be wrong, but that's what I think.
Well, I'm not saying it's a restriction. They're exempt from liable for what someone on their platform says.
Gotta go. Okay, thanks, Pete.
Yep.
All right. That's going to wrap it up for us. Say goodbye, Shane.
Goodbye, Mayor. Goodbye, Jennifer. Everyone have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy the sun. It's summertime. Be happy, be safe. God
All right.
bless.
Hey, thanks, man. All right. All right, we got to get out of here. Thanks, Jennifer, for being here. We appreciate that very, 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 very much.
It is a good topic to look at in advance of next year. But other than that, I'm not talking about the election till next year.
Okay. Well, that sounds like a deal to us. So, all right. Thanks, everybody, for the calls and all of that and your participation this week. And, hey, don't forget, all of our shows are downloaded, so if you missed any part of any of our shows, get over to KMMSAM.com, and we're right there. We'll see everybody Monday morning, 6 a.m.